Hey everybody, I'm Jay Scherr with Jay Scherr Business Consulting. We help entrepreneurs, business owners, and other leaders maximize their potential, build rock-solid foundations for their businesses, and create more freedom in their lives. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. The Greek poet Archilochus is attributed to the quote, "We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training." Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk about training, mindset training, that is, how we can strengthen our mental toughness, mindset tools to maximize impact and influence as a leader, how we can all get that mental edge needed to elevate performance, and more. My guest is a husband and father of 5, a mental conditioning coach, author, keynote speaker, and podcast host. He's trained #1 NBA draft picks, college teams, Heisman Trophy finalists, NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL athletes, as well as corporate executives and school districts across the country. His innovative trainings on mindset, culture, and sales psychology have been put into practice by some of the world's most well-known organizations, including Nike, Lululemon, Microsoft, Salesforce, FedEx, and Amazon. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Master Your Mindset and the man whose mission is to transform lives and normalize mindset training, Collin Henderson. Collin, it is great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Jay, what an honor. And I love your shirt, all about mindset. And a great intro. You're a professional. The voice had me very locked in, great pacing. I am so ready for this.
I am too, and I am thrilled that you're here today. I know this is going to be a fantastic conversation, and this is certainly one of the more important topics that we can address, and it's great to have experts like you on this podcast to be able to share your insights and your wisdom. So let's dive right in. I thought a good starting point would be for you to share with all of us first what your favorite thing is about yourself and why.
Wow. That's a great question. No one's asked that. But would you agree that sometimes your best trait is also your worst trait?
Yes. So I want to hear yours and why you say that.
I would say that my best trait is just kindness. And being kind and having empathy to, how is someone feeling? You name dropped, I think, a Greek philosopher. I'm going to name drop Plato. He once said that be kind because everyone's facing their own battle. They're in a battle that we don't even realize. But maybe sometimes that kindness can be used against you, because I'm very trusting and I want to give people every chance possible. But I think that's a good trait. I'd rather have more kindness in the world.
I'm right there with you, and I love that trait. So just from a curiosity perspective, has that always been part of who you are, that kindness, or is this something that you developed, recognized in yourself, and wanted to attract more of in your life over time?
Yeah, I think, when you're born with your, genes and genetically, you're like 25% or above, just predetermined, pre-wired to be a certain way. And I just think being a student athlete and athlete for so long and being a part of teams, like I was just wanting to be the best teammate. I just, for us to win, for me to have fun, being a good teammate who listens, who cares, who's not selfish, I think that's how we win. And I just, from day one, I've been very, just attuned to how people are feeling. And I'm also very open and attuned to how people are treating me. So being sensitive myself, words and actions, how they make me feel. I think I just learned over time, well, what they said hurt my feelings and what they did hurt my feelings. So I don't want to be like that to anybody that I'm around who I'm leading, serving, helping. So I think early on, I have an older brother, and when you're the younger one, you get to kind of observe and experience things through them. And also I like to win, and I do care what other people think about me, maybe which actually hurts me, so I do want to win, but I'm just attuned to how do people experience me? So as a 44-year-old who is a founder, CEO, who works with companies all across the world, like I'm aware of my edge of growth. And, when you create content like podcasts and books and curriculum, as I get older, I've learned to show up, well, is this an authentic version of myself? Is this art that I want to create that I believe in? And I can't control what other people think. So this is a journey, man.
Yes, it is. One in which we're learning every day when our eyes are wide open. So, you mentioned several things in which you just said, one of which I want to pull a thread on, and that's really around, although you didn't use this word, but it's around self-awareness, because, you mentioned as an example that you want to be able to show up a certain way and that you have empathy and all of those things, which often we don't necessarily know it ourselves until either we've gone through an experience or until we're surrounded by other people that are in a trusted circle that can hold up that mirror for us, right, and give us good feedback. So talk about your own level of self-awareness and how that has helped you. And then also a second piece to that, I'll tell you what, let's start there and then we'll see where the conversation goes. So just self-awareness in general.
Yeah, I have a curriculum I teach, and self-awareness is the first pillar every time. Because if we're not aware, we can't change. If we're not aware, we can't scale. And I think a lot of people get so rooted in these patterns of thinking and behaving. So if we don't take time to reflect, don't take time to either get coaching or get feedback, it's hard to grow. So I think as a foundational step to how to master your mindset, being aware of what are common thought patterns that are hurting me. What are common thought patterns and behaviors that really are rooted in really trauma and really rooted in hurt, because your brain is designed to survive, not thrive. And a lot of times these stories that we tell ourselves, the things that we do to protect ourselves from feeling pain, is a lot of times that's what's really stopping us. So, and we can't get to the place of change unless we're hurting and we're in a state of, I want to feel something different. So sometimes pain can be the best gift because it opens up your mind. I want a coach, or I want a therapist, or I want a mentor, or I want to do the work, or I want to get in the gym, or I want, to start reading more. And so if we don't have the awareness of what's the source of this pain and how can I stop it, like we probably won't change.
So on that point then, what is one of those painful moments that you've experienced that gave you the ability to reflect, whether it was maybe reaching out for help or just finding that place where you realized, I need to change. The only way that I can change and grow is to move through this pain, acknowledge it, have the self-awareness, and work through it. So what is one of those moments you've experienced?
Yeah. It was in my early 30s, was in outside sales, selling to doctors and physicians. And, being a college student athlete, I had similar patterns of worth tied to how I do, how well I perform. And, just stuck in that my worth is tied to how well I show up and perform, rankings and am I on stage. And also I had some anxiety about, I used to stutter. When I was in environments of presenting, speaking, I was pretty good one-on-one, but my anxiety, hit kind of a low point in how I present and speak, because what you don't use, you lose. So there was a window of like 3 years where I stopped trying to speak in public. I stopped, in meetings, corporate wise, saying something, speaking up, sharing my voice, and what you don't use, you lose. So by not working on my fear, my self-worth dropped. And my confidence or your self-image my self-image was affected. And I also believe your environment is so critical to your self-image and your wellness and your well-being. And I got promoted to a different position, and it was a really hard role, seeing physicians that it was hard to access. I had a teammate that was kind of negative, and I kind of just hit a really low point. Wasn't sleeping, wasn't healthy, just anxious all the time, was not enjoying my day to day. My escape at that time, Jay, was to go watch movies in the middle of the workday. I would literally go to a matinee to numb myself from the fear, the anxiety, just being unhappy, feeling alone. But I had the courage to change companies. And in that moment, I got exposed to a sales coach that really talked about how powerful your thoughts are, how powerful the mind is. He said there's these books on business, but here's these mindset books. Like, this is where your growth is going to take place. It's not how to sell something. It's how to, navigate things like gratitude and self-talk and how you visualize what happens to your brain. You literally can train your brain by how you show up each day, journaling and, again, just changing this narrative, this story about yourself. So I just saw instant change in that moment, and the awareness of, man, I have some negative patterns. I'm holding on to past mistakes that I'm reliving and then I'm pre-living. And that's why I'm stuck. That's why I'm not thriving. So if I can literally daily change my thinking, change what I verbalize, change what I process, set goals, but really focus on the process, not the end result, and get joy in that. So that awareness of just having a coach changed everything.
So it's amazing to me, and I'm sure you've experienced this more than one time in your life, but it's amazing how the right person at the right time with the right message can create such a tremendous impact and change in your life that creates a ripple, right? In this particular case, you had an individual who opened your eyes to a different way of thinking, helping you go within and do the work on your own mindset. And it sounds like that was a catalyst that really changed everything for you. So I want to go back a little bit prior to this point. So you were involved in sports in college, football and baseball. How was your self-confidence, your self-esteem, the identity that you tied to your life at that point? How did that all work for you in the sports area? Were you at that stage in life tied to the scoreboard and outcomes, or was it something else for you?
No, it was totally derived, and but I think most men are taught to be tough and not ask for help. So I would describe myself like an iceberg for most of my life up to that point. So on the surface, people saw homecoming king, started as a true freshman, football in the Pac-12, captain of the baseball team, really good student, got a lot of honors for my grades and achievements scholastically, and I had friends, but I just wouldn't talk about how I felt alone. I wasn't finding joy in this, where everyone's having so much fun. I remember going back home my freshman year and everyone's like, this is the best time of your life. And people say that, but I just don't feel I feel like I'm just a nervous wreck all the time. But I didn't seek therapy. I didn't tell anybody what I was feeling. And then I carried this. My solution, Jay, was to work harder. That was always my solution, is just to achieve more, put more hours in the batting cage, hours running routes, study more, get all A's, go to grad school, get a high paying job out of grad school. But it didn't change how I felt. So
do you feel like you were doing all of those things to try to make yourself feel better about yourself, chasing those next awards, trophies, that next thing, whatever that happened to be?
Yeah, it's just seeking approval, seeking being liked, seeking success from the external. So there are 4 ways to get motivated, and this is the scale of power. The first one's fear. I mean, fear will motivate you, but that fuse is gonna die really fast. You're gonna build resentment, you're gonna build anxiety, you just won't be able to function. It works for a short term. And then the next one is called extrinsic motivation, which that was my driver. Fear and extrinsic, what people thought, what the image I showed in the paper, in the stats. The third one is intrinsic. So I've been really exploring, what motivates me, what lights me up, what brings me joy. But I think what I've uncovered, an unstoppable power for motivation, is pro-social, which is serving a need or a group or a purpose larger than yourself. So that's where selling devices and selling medicine to physicians, I guess that has a higher purpose, but I was doing it to make money, doing it to be the top salesperson. Founding Master Your Mindset is, I'm normalizing these concepts of self-doubt, fear, self-worth, and giving solutions on what has helped me. So I think just the awareness of, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for ego image or for impact and growth? And that's a great question I ask leaders all the time. Like, are you doing this to protect your ego and to look intelligent, to justify your position at the company, or is it really to serve this higher purpose?
I've been on both sides of that coin. I mean, there's no question I've been on the ego side and trying to do everything I could to feed that, to look good, what I thought was looking good in the eyes of other people. And then I've also been on the other side where it's really about finding that greater purpose and letting that drive your behaviors, your decisions, etc. So for you have found this calling, this greater purpose. And how has that changed the way that you show up to the world? Once you nailed that down and you locked into it, how did that change your life?
Yeah, and I'm wearing a bracelet on my wrist that says process over outcome. If we're in a state of flow, it's the journey is the reward, not the result. And I think I've switched from focusing, my joy from results to growth and to service and to living in practice of what I really am called to do. And I think the challenge is, Jay, like, what are you called to do? And that's the awareness work that we have to do. Like, what do you think about? What do you read about? What pain can you turn into your purpose? How can you make your mess your message, and lean into that? And if you do what you fear the most, there's nothing you can't do. So I think a lot of us in today's society are just rolling around with fear. We got devices that remind us we're not good enough. We're comparing. We have emails nonstop, negative news. I think there's just so much noise being thrown at us. But one of my favorite Bible verses is Romans 12:2, which is, don't conform to the patterns of this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So this is like a renewing, like a mental fitness, like a daily process of affirmations and gratitude and serving and living in your values and being connected to others. I think we're in this world of, we're connected but so alone. So asking for help, getting in a small group, hiring a coach, and don't do this alone.
So why do you think that we have such a aversion to asking for help?
Jay, that is the money question. Why do we not ask for help? Human beings are social creatures. We're designed to be in community. And one of the most powerful mental, chemistry and things we can experience in our brain science is, it's called oxytocin. And it's that bonding, trusting chemical. And I think one of the most trusting things we can do, the most courageous things we can do, is to tell somebody, I'm not okay and I need some help. Or I'm having this thought, can I run it by you? But I really believe that I learned this acronym from Dr. Michael Gervais, and he says the number one performance epidemic and challenge in our society is what he calls FOPO, fear of people's opinions, where we're so concerned by what we think other people think and will think we will be judged. This is from Jay Shetty in his book, Think Like a Monk. We aren't who we think we are. We aren't who others think we are. We are what we think other people think we are.
Amazing.
Think about that one a few times.
Yeah.
I know we are so hung up by what we think other people think. But what I've learned in this work I've done, and I've failed a ton, is they're not thinking about our mistakes. People are in their own crap. Like I mentioned that quote from Plato, everyone is in their own battle. They're dealing with their own stuff. So I think I've learned that I'm not going to be judged if I call a friend. I'm not going to be judged if I talk to, my mom about this, or if I call my therapist and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, can we go on a walk and talk? I call a friend, can we go on a walk and talk and let me process some things at work or in my relationship? That is so healthy. But when you do that, the other people feels oxytocin. They feel more connected to you because, oh, you trust me to talk. I'm feeling the same thing. So I just think we need to realize that everyone's dealing with crap. Everyone's got their own shit. And you think you're so special, you're the only one. Now, I don't think we need to verbalize and advertise to everybody what we're going through. I think if we have, 2 to 4 people that we really trust, and it can be a group of people, a powerful, high performance tip I learned from Jay Williams, who played basketball at Duke, played in the NBA. He's now on ESPN. He says, I have a board of directors in my life, as in people that I trust, that if I'm struggling with an idea or a concept, I have to make a decision, I have, I don't know, 4 to 5 trusted people that have my best interest, just like an organization, a company, and I can go with them with the problem and we'll collectively figure it out. That's powerful.
I love that. That is powerful. And, I think to the point about asking for help, coming to that realization and having the courage to ask for it, I think it also shows a level of authenticity to the person on the receiving end of that, right? The fact that they're so appreciative of the fact that you came to them, right? They're someone who you trust with this sacred thing, this issue that you're dealing with, and that you're seeking some guidance and some help, and you believe that that individual can help you or connect you with someone that can help you. I think that goes a long way. And it's interesting. I agree with you that we don't necessarily need to broadcast these issues we're facing to everyone. I mean, today I think we see social media flooded with videos of people talking about all of the things that are going on in their life. And I love the idea of having that trusted board of advisors, that personal board of advisors that you curate, but these are individuals that you like, you trust, you believe in, they're part of your inner circle, and they're people that you can help and that help you. It goes both ways. So that point in your life where you came in contact with that mentor, that sales trainer, were you asking this individual for help, or was it a situation where because of the career opportunity at that point, the help was going to be provided anyway? Was it obvious that you needed some guidance and some help at this stage in your life?
Yeah, a really good book is The Brain That Changes Itself. And what I learned in that book is the first step to learning is you have to want to learn. How simple is that, Jay? The first step of learning is you have to decide, yes, I want to learn. And in that same vein, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Like attracts like, energy flows where focus goes. So I think I was in a state of like, I'm starving for growth. I'm starving for transformation. I'm ready to do the work. I felt like crap for so long. And whatever your belief system is, I think the universe or God is going to give you what you ask. And I was ready to do the work. And lo and behold, my 3rd week at this company, I'm in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm riding in the field with Frankie Pretzel, who was only a sales trainer for 1 month because he was a top sales professional. He was changing divisions, and they put him in that role for a month. And I got him. What are the odds? But I was hungry to learn. And when the student is ready, a teacher will show up in your life because you're attuned and you're aware. And this is what's called the RAS. Don't know if the listeners know what the RAS is. That's short for reticular activating system. It's a cluster of brain cells that filters out what doesn't matter. It's a heat-seeking missile to get what you want. It's kind of the example it's used with the RAS is when you get a new car, you see that car everywhere you go. Well, I was ready to learn. I was ready to attack this new role. And lo and behold, there was a teacher. And if I wasn't in that state, I was like, all right, you got some books, whatever. But I was like, oh, you got some books on the mindset stuff? I want to learn. So I was so ready to learn, and I took the things. But the other part about growth is applying what you're learning. So I have a podcast. We've done it for 5 years, 211 episodes. People do self-help a lot of times for entertainment, to fill time, to read a self-help book. And it's this like a chase of, I want dopamine for the next tidbit, the next trick, the next 10-step process. But that's just filling time for entertainment. They don't actually do the work. So I think what I saw transformation is the commitment to apply the content that I was learning. And the other great thing that changed my life, Jay, is we learn the best when we teach.
Absolutely.
So I was so fired up about this. I started blogging about the learning I was doing. So when you teach something, you have to crystallize. I love that you open with a quote that we don't rise, I'll paraphrase, the level of our aspirations, goals, but we fall to our training. But I also want to add, I love James Clear, and he says, we don't rise to our goals, we fall to the level of our systems.
Mm-hmm.
So by blogging every week, I was organizing my philosophy on what drives winning, what drives wellness. And if I can teach a system that I've been doing, that reinforces that system that I'll keep doing it. So I think that was such a gift, is to see the results, but also be motivated to, man, I just want to help and serve and teach people what I've learned, because I live my life alone, afraid, anxious, depressed, scared, unhealthy emotionally, mentally. And now I've just uncovered tools that I know exist and they're working for me. I want people to know about this.
I love this part of the conversation, and a couple of things I'd love to find out from you. First, what you just described, that feeling of loneliness, of doubt, of just desperation and not really in a good place. You mentioned you have an older brother. Was your brother or your parents aware of how you felt at this stage in life before things began to shift? And if so, did they have suggestions, recommendations, advice, guidance for you?
I would say, what shaped my mindset, like origin story, and um, a truth about how the mind is shaped is the brain is wired for things that are negative. It's like Velcro. What's negative is sticky.
Mm-hmm.
Like Velcro, what's positive is like Teflon, especially as young children. So my condition, like everybody else, is shaped by three things, what you see here and experience, and that's shaped mainly by what I call trauma, drama, daddy, and mama. And the irony is, my dad was a clinical PhD child psychologist who also
Really?
was an all-conference quarterback at Washington University at that time in the Pac-8. Was a professional player in racquetball, is played in the CFL, played pro football, was a Washington, softball Hall of Fame in the USSSA or USSSA. He was so competitive, and he loved us endlessly, but that competitiveness, I heard the voice all the time in the stands, at practice, that all-powerful, all-seeing eye and voice of, he's going to let me know when I didn't do well. And when I did well, I would hear it, but the negativity was 10 times more powerful than the, like, this was good. So you ask me, did they know? And I would tell you, for most of my younger life as a young adult, the answer is no. They didn't know. And I think this is, if there's parents listening to this, how you speak to your kids becomes their self-talk. What you praise is how they're going to evaluate their worth. So process over outcome, this bracelet was on my dad's wrist when he died a year ago. I watched his last breath. And the evolution of his love for me and the empathy and his growth of, like, owning how intense he was and just the amazing compassion he had and the growth, like, I will forever be indebted to how he supported my whole growth. Because my last year of playing college baseball, he was so negative because I didn't have a good year the year before. I told him, you can't come to my games anymore.
Wow.
And imagine being a parent. Our son plays baseball. He has a game tonight. Like, if he told me, like, you create so much anxiety in me, you can't come, like, I would be devastated. But he didn't know because I didn't say anything. And he's like, oh my, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. And he was gracious. He didn't come.
So what is then the greatest gift that your father gave to you?
Well, I can list you endless quotes that he would say to me. Character seeks its own level. The victory doesn't go to the stronger, faster man. It goes to the one who thinks he can. Like he gave me all these great tools and resources on thinking, but
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest gift I saw was him having so much compassion for what I was going through. He just didn't know. And the irony is, I have a 6-month mastermind that people pay a good chunk of money to be a part of. And my first ever cohort, he signed up for it.
No kidding.
This is a clinical psychologist who is one of the most amazing, intelligent people I've ever met. Like so complex, such a range of knowledge. And he said, I want to be the student. And the lesson of just humility and the lesson of growth, the lesson of love. And he got to see me in action before he died. He got to see me in my most rawest, truest, sincere, where, 12 people are paying money for me to coach them in a small group. And he's like, I want my son to coach me.
Incredible.
And it was like tear jerking. Now I think back, he's not here anymore. Just the humility and just the endless love that he had.
Compassion, humility, love. I mean, what an incredible gift right there. How about your mother? Greatest gift that you received from your mom?
My greatest gift my mom gives is just energy.
Energy.
She is a spark plug. She is, serving. She's the best host you can imagine. She's a great gammy is what we call her. To five for her. I mean, she actually has 7. My brother has 2 kids, but just the energy all the time. And so supportive. When she's around, she makes the room better. She's helping. She's serving, having fun. And she's easy to talk to. So I think just having that energy, and she's now. She just had a birthday this month. She is now 73, but you wouldn't know it. She acts like she's 33.
Fantastic. Happy birthday, Gammy.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that. So you do, in addition to your mindset coaching and training, a big part of that is leadership training, working with corporations. So speak to how having our mindset right has a direct bearing and impact on how we show up as leaders for teams, for individuals, and leading in our own lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we need to understand there are 3 things we can train as humans: is body, craft, and mind. And I have every leader write down the ratio 3-to-1. So 3:1 is to the mind is to the body. 3:1 as culture is to talent. 3:1 as person is to performer. So if you're only training craft and that's it, whatever, if you're a teacher, if you're in education, if you're in law, if you're in medicine, if you're a blacksmith, if you're in accounting, if you're in home building, if you only talk to that person that you lead about only job stuff, about spreadsheets, about just business stuff, you are missing the most important things that leadership that is required of you. Because people don't leave jobs, people leave people. And if they don't see or feel respected, heard, understood, valued, they're not going to work great for you. So you have to love people for people first. And you don't have to be best friends. But you should know your people and carve out time to understand what their goals are, what their backstory is, what's important to them, what obstacles they're facing. And your biggest customer is the people that you're serving. Like that's your client. And them feeling, again, trust and connected, and it's a safe place to learn and grow and to be authentic. That doesn't happen by just talking about spreadsheets. But the honest truth is, these soft skills drive results. That's what people don't understand. I hear people say, well, we're a performance culture. I was like, well, how many people have left the organization in the last year? Like, you know how expensive it is to do onboarding and to rehire somebody? And the other biggest threat, Jay, to our performance in the corporate world is what's called quiet quitting.
Oh, yeah.
So if they're not on fire for the purpose, if they're not driven intrinsically and pro-social, like a connected to a purpose larger than themselves, they're not going to drive results for you. And they're going to be sick more. They're going to do the bare minimum. They're going to call in days early because they're not driven and to show up. So I think I have a lot of systems I can teach on leadership, but we need to understand that it's the person matters. The most important asset to any organization is people. If that's the case, let's spend more time on that truth.
So when you are working with a corporation and it's a brand new client, what what types of questions are you asking initially to better understand what their current situation is and how you're able to help them? So I would love it if you would speak to our leaders out there, our business owners, our corporate leaders who are listening to this conversation right now, who this has sparked some curiosity in their minds. What questions are you asking to get started?
Yeah, I love this. This is from Voltaire. Don't judge a person by their answers, judge them by their questions. That's leadership. You want to be the most interesting person, be the most interested. Have a dialogue, not a monologue. I got a lot of one-liners, Jay, if you're taking notes. So if there's leaders on the line here, let's pull out a pen and paper. I'm going to give you a model that I call win the connection. Win the connection. People follow or change behaviors with people that they trust, they feel connected with. And Harvard has research published from the 1930s. The number one source of happiness is connection. So let's look at brain science and figure out if I'm going to change your behavior. And I look at the word leadership. If you ask John C. Maxwell, he says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But I would say, John C. Maxwell, well, what is influence? And I would say value. So if you're to bring value, you can't assume, you can't be a mind reader. There's certain system and a sequence of understanding that every human needs to do to understand where is this person coming from? How can I serve? I think the worst thing in leadership and influence is you just talk at them. You just assume and you do your core message and you do your sales pitch without having any background of learning and understanding what are they coming from? What do they truly want and need? So here are 5 W questions that we can ask.
Okay.
So we're breaking down winning the connection. And I like that winning starts with a W. And if you want to get a dub, you want to get a win, you want to get a win in someone's life, you want to win in their performance, win as a team. So the first thing early in the conversation, how I run meetings, how I run workshops, how I do I have calls where I have to explore this company can hire a lot of different consultants. Why would they trust me? Well, I do the same series with them that I teach them. So the first W is who are they as people first.
Okay.
So I want to know who this person is, who this group is. Like, where are you from? What's your backstory? Tell me about where you went to school. Just simple human being questions. And what this does, Jay, is this kind of like lubricates, it warms up the brain. Once you go into tell me all about your, profit and loss and P&L and, all this stuff, whoa, I'm not ready for this yet, but I think it just level sets and you get to learn a lot about people on these backstories. And I know for a fact, I've done this enough, we have more in common than we don't have in common. There's a commonality that where we have maybe a similar backstory or a connection here, but this is not a ploy or a trick. If you lead with love and care about people first, good things will come. So this is just a way for you to warm up your mind, warm up the conversation, and it's kind of a good icebreaker too, just to hey, let's talk about it. Tell me where you're from. Tell me, what are you grateful for today? Just some little thing about who they are. And then I think what I've seen as a game changer is the next step. So the first W would be who.
Okay.
The next W, which Henna jokes with me, like she says this is corny, but I'm like, just it's sticky because it's a W. Is it's less of a question, it's more of an acknowledgement. I call it a wow statement, where you fall in love with the customer and you acknowledge their work, and you show you've done some homework and you've read up on them, or you've seen something that you admire, respect, and hey, I just want to acknowledge I've noticed this. Like, tell me about that. That's really cool. Like, how'd you do that? Or tell me how that project's going. It's going pretty well. Or hey, I read on LinkedIn, I saw that post y'all did, and how's that going? Where you can like not acknowledge their work, because let's not kid ourselves, work can be hard, it can be stressful. But a basic human need is feeling significant and having significance and being relevant. And if someone that you meet is acknowledging your work, I'm just telling you, they're getting hits of dopamine and serotonin right away.
Love it.
And this conversation went from a sales pitch to, I like talking to you. And I originally had 30 minutes on, let's do an hour, because like time has flown. And you're just really caring about them and really want to understand and acknowledge. I mean, that's being a good neighbor, that's being a good sibling, that's being a good partner, it's being a good, husband or wife, it's being just, hey, I want to talk about you and I want to acknowledge you. Tell me where that's going to hurt you. It's not. And then the next W, the third one, we're going layers now. And each one, I believe in, I've written curriculum, I've written books. I think sequence really matters. I think having steps that grow and build off each other is really important. So when you build curriculum, when you build systems, when you build philosophies, I think order matters.
Good.
So the third one is a why question. Because if you're in a position of leadership, you have a deeper care or a purpose or a drive that has led you to this position. So what I want to understand, so I know them better, is why do you do this? A lot of times in sales, leaders are taking less pay. So what happened in your life, or what led you, or why are you doing this role, the extra work, or why are you running, you're coaching an elite AU basketball program with 50 teams. Like, tell me about why you do this, or you're a superintendent. Like, tell me your origin story on like what led you to this role. I'm fascinated by this, because you're leading a lot of people and it's probably stressful. So like, what reward do you give? Like, why do you do it? And it's crazy to hear their backstory, and most people don't ask these things. And now we've done 3. So now the last 2 are what I call what times 2. So now I know a little bit more about you. I've acknowledged your work. I learned more about what projects you're excited about. I've kind of tried to uncover what is driving you to do the work. But then I want to know, well, what's your goal right now? Like, what are you striving to achieve right now? What's most important as an organization? Like, what's your North Star? Like, what's your mission? What's your, like, is it a new product launch? Is it, test scores, or is it a national championship? Like, tell me, like, what are you trying to achieve now? And then the last W question is, well, what's stopping you? What hurdles have you experienced? What have been some hiccups? What are some adversities? And then once you walk them through the sequence, you get to the money question, Jay. And the money question is, well, what are you doing for that? And then you can start selling. Then you can start leading. And then we can collaborate together on like, well, I have systems for that, or I know someone who can help you with that, or here's a tool, or hey, what if we do a workshop? And then what if we, based off, you said this, and this, what if we do a follow-up based off of like your team's not connected? So you really get to take what they told you and customize a collaboration, because we have the same goal. I am on your team. I have the same desires you do. We're not competing. So people do not like to be sold. They love to buy. And people support what they help build. So all we're doing is collaborating on your need, because you're the hero, I'm just the guide.
This is so good. My friends, for all of you that are watching and listening right now, again, I'm going to repeat this because we talk about this on this podcast on a regular basis. It is around taking notes. It's around listening. It's around taking the information that you're receiving and then attaching action to it. So what you just shared just now, the 5W questions: who are you as a person? The wow statement: acknowledge the work that they're doing. That why question: why do you do this particular work? Why do you do this? The what times two: what's most important? What's your most important goal? Number 5, what's stopping you? What are the hurdles that you're experiencing? And then, of course, what are you doing about that? I mean, this is a great step-by-step process, but what I love about it is not only the sequence, right? It's like you're peeling back the layers of the onion, right? You start with the outer and you continue to work as you peel back those layers. But this is all about connection, relationship, and looking for ways to build value, to create value for another person. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think this is a true value add that we can all apply. And quite frankly, as I'm listening to you walk us through this process, this is something that we can use not only in our professional lives, but in our personal lives as well, right? When you're working
Yeah,
with
this can serve an organization. This can serve someone that you're serving.
absolutely.
This is universal. But I want to add one more caveat to this to add another layer.
Okay.
If you're in a selling environment and you get to the money question, like you've earned the right to really uncover what's stopping them. I mean, that's people buy problems, they don't buy solutions, so you have to sell the problem. And then you say, what are you doing for that? And they'll say, well, we're doing this, And I think some people normally stop there, but I like to, again, peel the onion deeper, and then you would ask, well, how's that going?
Mm-hmm.
Would you improve it? Where are the shortcomings? So there's really no end to this process, and it can be used for everyone.
I love that. I'll give you one example to that last point. So when I'm working with clients, I ask them for every coaching session, whether it's group coaching or whether it's one-to-one coaching, at the end, I'll send a message to the leader of that organization to provide a rating of how that particular coaching session went. And it's a fairly simple process, but depending on the rating, whether it's a 6 or a 10, I'm always looking to improve. I'm always looking for feedback. So I'll come back and I'll say something along the lines of, what could I have done to have made this experience a 10? Or what could I have done to make this a wow experience for you and have delivered even more value? So I'm learning with each session. So the next session, I'm applying those learnings that I'm taking away. So I'm making sure that I'm always delivering the highest value that I can. And unless I'm asking, I don't always know the answer to that question.
Yeah, what you're teaching us is a principle of leadership is stop being a mind reader. And also, Carol Dweck's model, Stanford, fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset people don't want feedback because it'll attack their ego, and they want to protect their image, where growth mindset people love feedback because their end goal is process over outcome. They get value in effort and growth versus results only.
That's right.
So what you're sharing is awesome.
The work that you do in any type of coach who's worth their salt, right? We're always looking to make those subtle adjustments that are going to improve our overall performance. And if we're not willing to listen to and receive feedback in the spirit of which it's delivered, why have we hired a coach? Right? If we're looking to improve, if we're looking to learn, if we're looking to grow, then we're going to not only listen, but we're actually going to take the actions. You had said this toward the beginning of our conversation. It really is about having a bias toward action. Action overcomes all. It's what creates momentum, and it's what moves us to the edges of our comfort zone and beyond. So I'm curious, as we are wrapping up our conversation today, and I could talk to you for hours, and I can't wait to continue this conversation at some point, but what are one or two bigger questions that you're contemplating today? It could be personal or professional, but for you, what are one or two big questions that you're thinking about?
I'll answer this question by kind of teaching a lesson and then I'll answer it.
Okay.
So everybody has what is called a self-image comfort zone. Just like a thermostat on the wall. It's set at 71. I like things hot. Some people like things cooler, maybe 67. I like it 71. And when that temperature drops below 71, there's a technology that notices it and it pumps in heat to elevate how warm it feels. But what happens when it gets hot? It's warmer outside or there's people, there's a party, and the heat goes up to 79. There's a technology that cools it down. Well, our self-image, our performance, our happiness is exactly the same. So when we're underperforming, we don't feel good about ourselves. We want to change. But I think the biggest threat that I'm trying to analyze within myself is when we're performing beyond ourselves, this ideal, this comfort zone, what we're used to, what we've been conditioned to believe since we're children, from our peer group, our neighborhood. When we're performing beyond that, many people subconsciously have what is called cognitive dissonance, and we self-sabotage subconsciously and bring ourselves down to this ideal, this comfort zone, this vision of ourselves. So the question I want to ask myself is, this is from Carl Jung, what is not conscious becomes your fate. So what patterns or conditioning hurt am I still holding on to, that I'm attaching to, that I need to be more aware of, that is subconsciously keeping my success low? Or what fears do I have, or what weaknesses that I'm not aware of is holding me back in terms of I'm having success, but can I scale it? Am I subconsciously falling back to, like you open with, fall to our level of vision and goals, but how we prepare in our preparation and our systems. So what old stories am I reliving? What lack of awareness or subconscious fears is keeping me stuck because I'm either pre-living or I'm not optimizing, I'm not growing. So those are the two kind of the past and the future. It's all subconscious. It's all things that we need to unlearn and then retrain. But that's why coaching, therapy, small group, personal development, journaling, reflecting, getting yourself into a different state to receive new ideas. There's a intelligence that no one can explain, but we are a source to receive information. So are we putting ourselves in retreats or in meditation or in prayer to receive the information? And are we honest with ourselves? And I think humility is the foundation of greatness. Humility is the foundation of greatness. So if we cannot humble ourselves to almost make fun of ourselves, that was why am I doing that? That's not helping me. Let's not take yourself too serious. And then, well, what can I do about it? And then find these new patterns. So I'm trying to live my life by design, not by default. And that's looking at what old stories am I holding on to, but what things am I currently doing that are holding me back because I'm not growing new systems, new ways of thinking big, but really how to execute,
That's so good. And as you said at the beginning of our conversation, this is a journey. It's a journey of discovery. It's a journey of becoming. And we don't actually ever arrive, but we're learning the entire time. And it really is about becoming. And so I love what you've said here. With what you had just shared, I'm just curious here. If you were to look at a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being fully realized potential, where would you put yourself on that scale today?
Well, you said the word potential, and that's an interesting question. So I actually look at potential from two factors. I look at how is your effectiveness, but how is your fulfillment? So I call this the EFP scale. So you could be effectively hitting your potential, but you're miserable. You could be fulfilled, but lazy as shit and not reaching your full potential in terms of what you can offer the world. So I think we need, if we're self-reflecting and being aware and want to optimize this precious time on earth, because we're living in the best time where you can ever be alive, if you really look at it. So my effectiveness, I mean, if you would ask me this in 2012, I would say 30% because that's when this idea came to me. I was watching one of my good friends speak on stage and I was like so envious, like I wish I could do that, but I can't. I have too much anxiety. I'm gonna stutter. I mean, I still stutter. I mean, or I still have delayed. I did it today with cognitive dissonance, but I just learned to keep moving and not analyze it. No one even probably noticed.
That's right.
No one ever speaks perfectly. Obama was arguably one of the best orators, and I mean, but he was phenomenal. But so everyone has their own things. So my effectiveness has probably jumped from 30%, 12 years ago. I mean, I'm trying to probably 75%. I still got more in the tank for me for
Okay.
sure.
Good.
In terms of learning and again being vulnerable and just figuring out how to present yourself in a way that's just raw, authentic, but being evidence-based and being sound in how you deliver messages. I think packaging is important. So that kind of mastering that, but fulfillment, I'm pretty lucky, man. I feel pretty blessed. I feel so blessed to be on this podcast with you. What a gift we have to just talk shop and just meet a new friend and use a platform to help and serve. So from a fulfillment level, I'm probably like 85% for sure.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you being candid there and realizing that there's still opportunity there to improve and to get better, and the fact that you have the self-awareness to know the areas that you want to continue to work on. And like the rest of us, I'm sure as you continue to grow and evolve, you will discover additional areas as well, additional growth areas that truly benefit you and give you the opportunity to serve people at an even higher level. So, one final question, and we have all of your social handles. We're going to go ahead and put that obviously in the show notes, ways to contact you, to purchase your books, to watch your incredible content, listen to your podcast. So let's imagine that we can time travel here for a moment in our minds, which we know we can. We can spend a lot of time in the past, and we can also spend time in the future. I prefer to be right here in the present moment. But let's say that we can time travel a bit forward in time. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your 80-year-old self?
I look at influence in two factors, breadth and also depth. I think a trap that influencers or content creators or podcast hosts or authors or speakers get into the trap of breadth versus depth. And I would be more happy if I had depth versus breadth. And my depth would be the ones I love the most, people in my family, people that I live life with. You see people have success and they have reach, but they're miserable. Like, are they alone during holidays? When they go to bed at night, are they connected with a life partner? Do their kids know them? Are they present with their children? When they have conversations with strangers or new people in life, like, are they really connected and present, or is it on to the next thing because they want to make the next buck? So this is a quote from Tony Robbins: "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." And I want to be so connected to the ones I love the most, and I'm present with them. I'm completely present, and I'm not on my phone. I'm not on to the next meeting. I'm at the games. I'm at the recitals. And to me that's what really true wealth is.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. And Collin, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I knew I would, just in the way that you intentionally show up to the world. I appreciate you sharing of your insights and your wisdom, bringing your gifts to our audience. And what a gift. I'm grateful for you and thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Well, the call got started on a good place because you're wearing a mindset shirt. So I knew I was going to like you just right from the start. So thank you.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. And for all of you, thank you so very much for watching and for listening. I know you enjoyed this one, and I do have a quick favor. Would you please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts? Let us know what you thought about this particular episode with Collin. What was maybe one key takeaway that you learned that you're actually going to apply in your life and in your business? We would love it if you would share that. And to enjoy more episodes, all you need to do is visit jscherbusinessconsulting.com, click that podcast button. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing. Make sure you connect with Collin and check out his incredible content. And we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care, everybody.